Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the backstory. If you're new here, kindly hit that subscribe button and the notification bell down below so that you can be notified when we post a new video. Now, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday, CS Murkomen was interviewed on Citizen TV. And during that interview, they discussed a variety of issues, but one thing came out. When Murkomen tried to do a comparative analysis of the development that has happened in Rwanda vis-a-vis some of the blunders that have happened in Kenya of late. And he made one diplomatic blunder that has left tongues wagging in the diplomatic cycles. Murkomen, in one of his answers, referred to the Republic of Rwanda as an autocratic state. And then he went ahead and said that Rwanda is a small country compared to Kajiado County. Anyway, I've never been to Rwanda, but some of my friends who've been there have told me how organized they are, how meticulous they are. And I took a keen interest and just started to research. And I've learned that there are so many things that we still need to learn from Rwanda. However much we say we are very democratic, we are a democratic country, but I believe Rwanda still is a democracy. Because what is democracy? Is we call ourselves a democratic country. But I think Rwanda as well is a democratic country because democracy calls for one, regular elections, the checks and balances within that government. And in my research or in my keen interest in Rwanda, I read and found out that maybe we call ourselves a democratic country, but Rwanda could be more democratic, more than Kenya. And there are so many things that we still need to learn from Rwanda. One, CS Murkomen is a lawyer, and he needed to have known that our members of parliament currently are participating in the 13th East African Interparliamentary Games, which is happening in Rwanda right now. That should have told him that Rwanda has a parliament just like Kenya. And the work of parliament is to kind checkmate the executive. So I went and looked at the structure of government in Rwanda. Rwanda has the executive, which is headed by President Kagame. Then they have their legislature, which is bicameral, just like the one we have in Kenya. They have the Senate and Parliament, which they call as the House of the Deputies. So if you look at their Senate, they have representatives from different groups, but one that I took keen interest in was the fact that they have two key representatives. One are representatives from the public universities, that is the lecturers and researchers from the public universities. That tells you a lot about the direction and the interest of that country. Like in Kenya, which sectors do we have representatives in the Senate? Do we have representatives from public universities? Do we have representatives from maybe teachers? Do we have teachers union and all that? No, we don't. So it tells you a lot about the leadership. It tells you a lot about the interest of the country and how much input or how much they are trying to put into education and research, because the representatives will help in formulation of policies that are touching on that specific sector. Then they also have a senator that represents the interest of lecturers and researchers from private universities. That is something that we need to learn from Rwanda. Then if you go to the lower parliament, which is the House of the Deputies, here is something that is interesting about Rwanda. We have the president representing the executive, that is President Kagame. Then there is the senator. No, not the senator, the speaker. So in Rwanda, something that we need to learn as Kenya as well is that the president comes from the party with the majority members of parliament. Then in their constitution, the speaker has to come from another party, not the ruling party. The speaker has to come from the opposition, which is not the case in Kenya. In Kenya, like right now, we have President Ruto, who comes from the Kenya Kwanza administration. The speaker also comes from the Kenya Kwanza administration. Kenya Kwanza has for Kenya, UDA, and Mudavadi. So they'll still come from that ruling party or ruling coalition. While in Rwanda, the president and the speaker have to come from different political affiliations. So that is something that we can adopt as a country. That would bring inclusion, and the opposition and members of the opposition would feel somehow included in governance of that country. Then another thing that we also need to learn that I did take keen interest in is the fact that when it comes to cabinet positions, the ruling party, in their constitution, the ruling party cannot have more than half of the cabinet positions. Like in our case, if you were in Rwanda, then the ruling coalition, which is Kenya Kwanza, would not have more than 50%. So, like now we have 21 cabinet secretaries. Kenya Kwanza would have like 10 cabinet secretaries, and then the remaining would come from the opposition parties. So that also brings in inclusivity within that country. You'd have, like in our case, you'd have President Ruto having cabinet secretaries from Kenya Kwanza, then other opposition parties like, let's say, Azimio, ODM, Jubilee, Wiper, would also have cabinet secretaries within that cabinet. How inclusive would that be for a country like Kenya? We would not have, it would not be a do or die kind of duel like we have in Kenya, whereby the winner takes it all. So some people within that country feel like, within Kenya, like right now, feel left out. So I think that is something that we also need to learn from Rwanda. Then the third thing that I also took keen interest of in their governance is the fact that women representation within the parliament of Rwanda and governance within that country. Women have been empowered in such a way that in the House of the Deputies, which is like our parliament here in Kenya, they do elect 53 members of parliament through universal suffrage, through the normal voting, just as we elect our members of parliament. Then there are special seats for women, and there are 24 from different women councils. So they elect their representatives and send them to parliament to represent specific interests. And then there is the Youth Council, which also elect or select 2 members to represent their interest in parliament. Then there is 1 member who represents the interest of the disabled. So if you look at it, I think they are more representative than we are here in Kenya. We might be having so many members of parliament, a lot of interest, but if we do a comparative analysis, I think they have members of parliament that represent key interests of key members of the society. Then those are some of the things that we need to learn from Rwanda, however much we talk about us being democratic. Yeah, we might be democratic, but there are some other things that we can also learn from our brothers and sisters in Rwanda. So to sum it all, yeah, people do make mistakes. I think CS Transport Murkomen made a very big mistake, but people make mistakes here and there. What he needs to do is to, one, apologize to President Kagame. Then secondly, he needs to also apologize to our brothers and sisters from Rwanda, from the Republic of Rwanda. Then secondly, the Kenya Kwanza administration is 1 year in office. Some of these blunders that they keep making day and night need to stop. They either train their cabinet secretaries or government representatives on how to handle some of these diplomatic issues. It's common knowledge that matters touching on the internal governance or internal matters of a specific country is a no-go zone. So Murkomen should have been smart enough to avoid that area. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, that is it from me today. If you have any feedback for us, you can comment on the video down below, or you can reach us on our social media handles. Until next time, bye-bye.